everyone? I'm Kareem Rae, your host at the One Soccer Nation podcast. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Ethan Zohn. Ethan, thank you so much for taking the time. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You're looking good, man. Healthy.
Well, you're only as good as you look. That's my whole philosophy in life, right? As a goalkeeper, growing up my whole life, we get to wear whatever we want to wear that's different than the rest of the team. So I always hyper focused on the way I looked because hey, if you look like you're a good goalkeeper, then maybe you'll play like a good goalkeeper. So that was my philosophy growing up.
Look good, feel good.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. So can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, so my name is Ethan Zohn, a former professional soccer player, winner of the reality TV show Survivor Africa, co-founder of the adolescent health organization Grassroot Soccer, and I'm also a two-time cancer survivor.
Wow. So a lot to unpack there. I want to start off with the last thing that you had mentioned. I've watched the video within the email thread about yourself and you surviving cancer. Um, what has surviving cancer built within you that strength, and what has changed your perspective on life and the work that you do within the beautiful game?
Yeah. I think with cancer, it's important for me to just back up a little bit because, when I was 14 years old, cancer came into my home and it took my father away from me. So growing up, I had my only connection to cancer was through my dad. So to me, I thought like cancer equaled death. So like when I was diagnosed in my 30s, as you can imagine, a complete shock. I was a happy, healthy young guy training for the New York City Marathon, and I had some like just really itchy skin, sleepless nights, loss of weight, lethargy. So I was wondering like, what the heck is going on inside my body. And after about 4 months of trying to figure it out, I was diagnosed with a rare form of blood cancer called CD20 positive Hodgkin's lymphoma. Trust me, I'd never heard of it either. But went through multiple rounds of chemotherapy, 22 blasts of radiation, and 2 stem cell transplants. So I've been through it. And I guess your question, getting back to it, is what have I learned? Is that, the human body is incredible. And it's incredibly strong and stronger than we ever think it could be. I've also learned the power of community and like teamwork. Growing up as a team sport guy, a soccer guy, lacrosse guy, like you always rely on your teammates and the people around you to kind of maybe get you through those tough moments in a game, whether you're on the pitch or off the pitch. And that same philosophy held true when I was going through cancer because I relied on a lot of people to help me get through the darkest moments of my life, family, friends, social workers, support groups, everyone that was willing to help, I took advantage of that. And so I just think I've learned kind of just how important it is to just have a team of people around you that you can trust, that care for you, and that will help you get through those dark moments.
Absolutely. Backtracking a little bit, how did you get involved in the beautiful game?
How did I get involved with what?
In the beautiful game.
How did I get involved with the beautiful game? Well, I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. So, as growing up, my brothers would take me into the backyard and they'd put me in goal and they just blast shots at my face. So at first it was a way to protect myself and defend myself from getting beat up by my brothers. But over time, I kind of got the hang of it and I started liking it and continued to play goalkeeper. And the funny thing is, growing up, like I'm about 5'10". I was definitely a short goalkeeper. However, I was been 5'10" since like 6th grade. So they put me in goal and I was the biggest kid until everyone had caught up with me. And then I realized, okay, now I see my place in this sport. But that's kind of how I got started. And yeah, I played, youth soccer, travel soccer, high school. I played in college. And then I was fortunate enough to play professional soccer for about 6 years post college in the minor leagues way back in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
So, and was playing goalkeeper a decision that you made, or were you just like your brothers were like, Ethan, just go in now. We're gonna shoot some shots on you.
I think I think the decision was made for me
Yeah,
because like I was like I said, I got I learned pretty quickly on how to block shots. And like I said, I was the tallest kid until like 12th grade. And so it just it fit me. But it was funny back then, I mean, people who are older in my age will know like I would show up to practice. I was wearing like corduroy jeans with like knee pads, I didn't have goalie gloves, like that's kind of what it was back then. Not as many people were playing soccer. So it's just and everyone wants a goalkeeper. So I was just happy to fill that void for most teams.
sure. Honestly, for me, goalkeeper was always like a scary position. I didn't want to get the ball shot at me. I wanted
I mean,
to.
goalkeepers, listen, we people give us a bad rap, oh, crazy goalkeeper, but I firmly believe, we're some of the smartest players on the field. We got to see everything. We have to direct traffic. Granted, we can use our hands, so we have a little bit of a competitive advantage over everyone else. But yeah, I thrive in those moments. I love being in high pressure situations, whether you are either going to be the hero or you're going to be the GOAT. And the interesting thing about being a goalkeeper is like you can have the best game of your life and you let in one goal and everyone hates you, and you got to stay dormant for 89 minutes and then you got to pull a save out of your ass in the last, 60 seconds. So I think it's a, I mean, it's a skill set that's not for every soccer player out there.
For sure. With saying that you've had a successful pro soccer career playing in both the US and Zimbabwe, how did your experiences on the pitch influence your decisions to co-founding Grassroot Soccer and use the sport as a tool for my God, social change?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I had a successful career as a professional goalkeeper, but I had a career. Let's put it that way. So when I started playing goalie, a little bit more historical perspective. So 1994, the World Cup here in the United States, as the legacy program to the 1994 World Cup, MLS was started, Major League Soccer, 96. And so what happened is all kind of like the really good goalkeepers got drafted to MLS, which left a void for an above average goalkeeper like myself. So all the goalkeepers got drafted and it just kind of left this space for some lesser quality goalkeepers to get a spot on some of these like professional soccer teams. So after college, I graduated from Vassar College in 1996, moved to Hawaii because I majored in marine biology. I'm like, I'm bound to find a job in Hawaii. There's a lot of water here. Didn't turn out that way. Ended up working in a youth hostel, cleaning toilets, making beds. But there was an advertisement in the local paper for a new professional soccer team, the Hawaii Tsunami. So I'm like, all right. So I went down, tried out as a walk-on, made the team as a backup goalkeeper. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go into marine biology. I'm going to play soccer for the rest of my life. And so I bounced around the professional leagues. MLS was just getting started, like I said. So I played for Hawaii Tsunami, Cape Cod Crusaders, Boston Bulldogs. And then in 1999, I went over to Zimbabwe and I played for a team called the Highlanders Football Club in the Zimbabwe Premier League. And that was just a life-changing experience for me.
Playing soccer back in those times versus now, especially, in the US, in your eyes, what does the game mean to you and the progression, the growth of soccer now in the US? What are your thoughts on the growth of it? And where do you, I mean, I'm kind of packing it up here and the future of soccer as well with all these big events coming up.
Listen, I am so psyched at the growth of soccer in the US. Early days, it gave an opportunity for guys like me to actually play at a high level professionally, whereas now I would have no chance at playing professionally. So you can see how, because of the growth of soccer, the talent has, consistently gotten better year after year. So many different ways to actually get into the game and play, whether you're playing in 7-a-side tournaments, high school, club, MLS Next, USL, USL One, like there's just so many different ways to get into the sport when I feel in earlier days there weren't that many. You had youth soccer, you might have a club, you had college, and maybe if you're lucky, you kind of get a look to play professional, but that was rare. So the talent is just exploding, and I'm so impressed with what I'm seeing, at the youth level, college level, pro level. And I think it's just really exciting. MLS, we're in 30 years, I don't know, 30 some odd teams. Women's soccer is exploding as well. I mean, we got multiple different leagues here in the US. And so I think it's just an incredible, the growth is incredible and it's so exciting, especially with the World Cup coming up, the Women's World Cup, the Olympics, and then USA has got the Women's World Cup in 31 as well. So it's only going to keep growing at exponential levels. Brands, sponsor, TV rights, star players. It's just, it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, again, as you mentioned, with all those events coming up, increasing fanship in US, how do you see this huge wave benefiting grassroots soccer?
Well, any major sporting event in the US, any major soccer event in the US is just a good thing, just because, there's going to be more attention, more exposure for the sport itself. The brands associated with the celebrities attached, the players and ex-players, it's just a good, convening point for all things soccer, which I think can't not grow the sport here in the United States. I think the beautiful thing about the World Cup is FIFA has what they call a legacy program. And so as part of a country or countries hosting the World Cup, there has to be a legacy left. And so here in the United States, there's going to be a legacy program. What I'm hearing is they're building a lot of little mini pitches around the US. You got 11 host cities. Each host city is going to be building, 10, 20 little mini pitches as part of the legacy, as part of the USA, as the World Cup. And so as part of these pitches, that's what I like to call the hardware. You're going to need software on these pitches. You're going to need leagues. You're going to need programs. You're going to need after-school sports. And that's where I feel grassroots soccer fits in. So grassroots soccer is going to be an incredible partner for all these, places in and around the United States that are capitalizing on the World Cup and building new soccer programs, soccer fields, anything along those lines. Because grassroots soccer, I don't think we really have been dug into it yet, but we are an adolescent health organization using the power of soccer to help kids make smarter choices in life. And so we have a pretty robust mental health program called Mind Skills. And so that's what we're really excited about, scaling during the World Cup through partnerships with these host committees in these host cities.
So, Ethan, why did you create grassroots soccer? What was the reason behind it?
So when I was playing in Zimbabwe, for the team called the Highlanders Club, I had some friends that got sick with HIV, kicked off the team, ostracized from the community, and lived the end of their life in a really sad and lonely way. And one of my strongest memories of when I first arrived in Zimbabwe was of all the graveyards there, because my team, we'd all smush into these tiny white little vans. We'd travel these long, dusty roads to get to our away matches. And on the side of the roads, I just saw these graveyards, and some of the headstones were perfectly organized one right after another, like we see here in the United States. But then there was these other areas where there were wooden crosses piled high and overflowing on the streets. So I asked one of my teammates, this guy, Amon was his name. He was the starting goalkeeper. I'm like, dude, like, why are some people buried like this and other people buried like that? And he looked at me and he says, that's where they bury all the people that die of AIDS. So for me to see a physical representation of everyone that was dying of this disease was shocking to me. People are dying. Everyone knows why. No one's doing anything about it, including me. And so at that time in my life, I was 27 years old, making barely any money playing soccer. Like, what can one person do to help this massive problem in all of Africa? So at that time in my life, I mean, I didn't do anything. I shelved it. I said, it's not my problem. Someone else will deal with it. It's a land far away. Yet, I still had that feeling. So I left Zimbabwe, returned home to the United States to continue playing here for the Crusaders. And I got a letter that that kid Amon, the starting goalkeeper, had passed away. And so that really shook me to the core. He's the guy I trained with every single day for a year. like one of my close friends over there. And so that's when we're like, okay, how can we use the sport that we love and the heroes and the role models this sport creates to break down barriers, build trust, and educate young people to adopt healthy behaviors? And so four of us all four American dudes who had all played for the Highlanders at different times came together. We created Grassroot Soccer right here, which, like I said, is a health organization that's using soccer to kind of deliver these health interventions. And we started just in one school in Zimbabwe in 2002. And now we've expanded and we're in 65 countries. We've graduated 25 million kids from the program, trained 15,000 coaches, published 49 research papers, have partnerships with 9 African governments, raised about $150 million since inception. And it's just something that we're incredibly excited about.
That's, a very touching story, and such a powerful story of change and what one person can do to impact millions around the
I mean,
world.
there's four of us, but yes, one organization.
Yes. Um, no, truly amazing, and it's inspiring to me when when I was listening to you. It reminds me a bit of One Soccer Nation, of our goal to give unknown superstars a chance to go pro and removing those barriers, and that's through my playing experience as well, through 20 years from grassroots to semi-pro levels, traveling across to different countries and coming across certain barriers, not being aware. That's why we want to start this team, right? To give these very talented players the best opportunity to go pro that may not know everything that they need to know, like visas, depending on if they're overseas, they could access to certain tools like an immigration lawyer, resources, housing, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But turning it back to you, why was soccer the vehicle to push it? I mean, obviously you played in it, you knew what it was about, but why still attach what you were doing after soccer, still being involved in soccer and creating this amazing foundation with soccer?
Yeah. I mean, like, think about it. Soccer is the world's most popular sport. We're not going to be able to impact millions of people through basketball or golf or swimming or tennis, right? So clearly I had a connection to Africa and I played there, and I had friends got passed away from AIDS in Africa. So obviously we were kind of focused on that continent. However, we could reach the most amount of people with the least amount of money. That's kind of why we went there, because every little kid in Africa, boy or girl, wants to grow up to be a professional soccer player. So you can imagine the impact when we send some of these coaches and these pro players, some of these peer leaders into the classroom. I mean, the kids' eyes pop open, their jaws drop, and we end up changing their behaviors through the sport of soccer. And there's no other sport on the planet that can do that. I firmly believe that, because soccer is the global sport. And so that's kind of why we've chosen soccer. And, we don't actually do much work in the United States. We do most of our fundraising here in the United States, but all of our work is done outside of the United States. And that's because up until, let's say, 10, 20 years ago, soccer wasn't as popular as it is today. So we needed to take it to the place that needed it the most, which was Africa, that had the most soccer fans, which we found was Africa. But now, as the world is getting kind of smaller in a weird way, I think we have more of an opportunity to be in different places and use our programs to help change ideas.
So what is the plan for the next 5 years for grassroots soccer?
Well, the plan for the next 5 years was incredibly impacted by some of the policy changes by the current government. So grassroots soccer receives a lot of its funding from programs that are funded by the U.S. government called USAID, PEPFAR, Peace Corps International. So our model at grassroots soccer is that we will partner with another organization, we'll train them with the grassroots soccer curriculum, make sure it's sustainable, and then kind of will oversee them as they kind of deliver these health interventions. What's happening now is that the organizations that we typically partner with, they've lost their funding. So these organizations can't hire grassroots soccer to train them with our curriculum. Therefore, we have very few opportunities now to actually scale our program. So we are scrambling like a lot of organizations out there. Many of our partners have shut their doors. I mean, 22 million people get their HIV and AIDS drugs through US government funding. And now that's been shut down. Think about that. There's going to be a lot of death out there. There's going to be a lot more people getting sick with HIV. These governments are now going to be stressed with creating a new health system and delivering drugs when organizations like Grassroots Soccer used to take care of that for them. But now we can't because we're not funded anymore. And so it's been a really challenging time these past couple months. However, the future of our 5 years, I would like to say, is bright. It's forced us as an organization to creatively think of new ways to scale our program. Maybe kind of lean a little bit more on technology, do a little bit less direct delivery. And so I think a lot of organizations are in a similar situation. And even with some of these US-based soccer programs, whether they're an after-school program through YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs, whatever, a lot of that funding you're going to see is going to be taken away. And so I think the soccer community at the rec level and the kind of soccer for social good level is going to be impacted a little bit more than we think. So 5 years is my 5-year plan is great. However, right now we're struggling a little bit.
So yeah, I mean, I'm fresh in the game in my career, and COVID was my first experience of a huge economic impact on everyone. So I have a distance understanding of what's going on, and I'm frustrated for you because it's such a big change, right, by such a strong entity. So yeah, I mean, hopefully with your creativity, I know you guys will figure it out. Um, Aside from that, is there any other projects that you're working on within soccer?
Yeah, I mean, the other side of it is I do think I'm hoping that having a huge international sporting event in a time of chaos like this can bring people together. I think sports has a incredible power to bring people together, especially soccer. Has the power to change the world, and so I'm hoping that, when the World Cup comes around in Canada, Mexico, United States, that, things can change a little bit, maybe not. But, I've been reading the articles between FIFA and US, and looks like things are going to be okay. Looks like they're, immigration, people visiting, all that stuff is not going to be an issue. So I'm really, really happy that that's the situation we're in right now. So I'm hoping the World Cup kind of brings the world together.
100%. Will you be attending any games?
What?
Will you be attending any games?
Yeah, I'm hoping to attend the games. I think this summer is the Club World Cup here in the United States, and so they'll be kind of testing out all the stadiums that they're going to be using for the World Cup. I think ticket sales are down right now. So whoever's out there listening, Club World Cup is going to be rocking this summer, and I think tickets are going to be widely accessible. So check your local listings and get to a game because we got some major teams coming here for a real prize too.
Yeah. I wanted to switch gears and ask you about the show The Survivor. I've seen it on TV, but you've
You've
been
seen
on
it.
it.
Have you seen the show Survivor? Have you seen one full episode?
I have, but this was when I was like younger on box TVs.
Oh no, really? No way.
Yeah, with my mom, just yeah, when I was younger. But and I have watched a few full episodes, but
Yeah.
um, not recently. So you've been on it and you've won it. So I wanted to ask you if you could share a little bit of your experience of like how you even got on the show, why you got on the show, and what that was like.
Sure. I love talking about Survivor. Well, I was my playing career was on a downward spiral, just put it that way. So I had gotten back from Africa. I got cut from the Crusaders. I was bouncing around teams. I was trying to play for like the New Jersey Imperials, or the Connecticut Wolves, the Rhode Island Stingrays. Like I was trying out everywhere, just getting cut left and right. So obviously very upset. I moved to New York City and I was unemployed. I like to say I was in between life choices, is what I told my mom. I was coaching at Fairleigh Dickinson University in Teaneck, New Jersey, and like I was a doorman at clubs in New York City. I was just like, I don't know what the heck I was going to do with myself. So my roommates and I in New York City were bored, and we're like, "What do you want to do today?" It's like, we can make a video for Survivor. Like we're like, it will take up one day. At least we'll have something to do today. So we ran around New York City. There may or may not have been some alcohol involved. I don't know. And we made a video for Survivor. And the funny thing is, I was supposed to make a video for my friend. My friend was supposed to make a video for me, but we ran out of time for him and we just sent in my video. And then I got chosen to be on the show. And so, yeah, after you send in your video, then you got interview and interview. They send everyone to LA and you have like a week's worth of like psychology tests and personality tests and physical tests. And you meet with the executives and the casting people. And then, yeah, and then they told me I was on.
And then, I mean, for those that don't know what the Survivor is, could you just kind of just give a high level highlight of like what it
Yeah,
is?
it's funny to think it's my own, like, obviously worldview of myself that how can no one know what Survivor is? No, but back in the day, Survivor started and I want to say 1999 or 2000, I think it started. And basically 20 contestants are deserted in an exotic location. You're split up into teams or tribes. You're given tasks or challenges. You get to hunt for idols and clues and advantages. And then every couple days, one person's voted off until there's only three people left. And then everyone you voted off, they're the ones that come back and they get to decide who they want to vote for to grant $1 million to for outwitting, outlasting, and outplaying everyone else. And so I played in 2002 Survivor Africa and won that one. And then I played in 2004 for Survivor All Stars. I lost that one. And then I played again just recently in 2020, season 40, if you can believe it, Survivor season 40, and I lost that one too.
Yeah, I mean, the one that you won in Africa, that's you won $1 million prize.
Yes. Yes.
So how did that $1 million change your life?
Well, that $1 million I donated to start grassroots soccer. So that's kind of how it changed my life. You asked me like why I started the show, why I started grassroots soccer, and my experience in Africa definitely was the impetus to start grassroots soccer. However, when I was on the show Survivor in Kenya, Africa, during the show, I won what they call a reward challenge. So I won a reward challenge. My reward was two goats, which I wasn't so happy about. But I got to take these goats to this little village of Wamba. And before I left this village of Wamba, all these little Kenyan children were coming out, and because we were hanging out in the parking lot of this hospital area before we left to go back into the game of Survivor. And so while I was hanging out in this parking lot of a hospital, all these Kenyan children came out, and they're touching my skin and they're playing with my hair like they'd never seen anyone like me before. And so I had a hacky sack with me. So I busted out the hacky sack and we just started playing. Like we couldn't speak the same language, but we had this little hacky sack. So we're laughing and we're smiling. We're connecting to the sport that we both love and a language that we understand. It was this big moment that I had over there. And before I left, I gave the hacky sack away to one of these little Kenyan kids. But I asked one of the nurses at the hospital, why are these kids just hanging out in the parking lot of a hospital? She looked at me. She said, these are the kids that are HIV positive. So here I was in the middle of this game, this cutthroat game of Survivor for $1 million. And I had that real life experience. So I said to myself, if this thing goes my way and I do well, I'm going to use this money to do something good in the world. And that's what I did. Yeah.
And what would you say was your biggest takeaway from Survivor mentally? Yeah,
Mentally.
because
Uh,
Survivor's not easy.
oh no. I mean, I mean, I don't think it is. Survivor is a game that touches on every part of you as a human being: mental, physical, social, spiritual, environmental, financial, right? And Survivor is one big 39-day networking event, right? It's a sales event. It's like, how can you sell yourself and your ideas to other people and get them to follow along? And then you get to stab them in the back, and you got to make sure that they still like you. So when they come back, they want you to win $1 million. It's like it's a conundrum. Like it's a it's a really fun game, right? That for me, that was a really fun game. And you're competing in challenges, and you're not eating, and you're not sleeping, and right. So so I learned, I mean, what I learned about myself, like my entire strategy out there was to be the assistant coach. And I learned that from being soccer. Like I know what it's like to work with the team. I know what it's like to come together to achieve a common goal. I felt good, managing the people around me. So what ended up happening was the head coach, this guy named Lex, head coach of my tribe, this guy named Lex, he'd complain to me about all the other players, all my other tribe mates. Then all my tribe mates would come to me and complain about Lex. So like I just filtered that information and then just kind of spit it out how I wanted to get myself further in the game, right? And so my entire strategy was to be like a crucial member of this team, a crucial member of the community. And during my entire time out there, I didn't get one vote against me. And that's because I made myself crucial to everyone else's survival. So without me, they'd struggle even more. I was the first one up in the morning, the last to go to bed. I helped with the chores. I congratulated my tribe after a win. I consoled them after a loss. Like I was just that guy, the personal relationship assistant coach guy. And that worked well in this format and this season. And it got me to the end of the game. And I ended up winning $1 million.
That's super cool.
But that the teamwork here is essential. Like a lot of different people play the game of Survivor. Like they take a cross section of America and they plop you down with these strangers and they just want chaos, right? And so I think growing up playing a team sport helped me incredibly because like I tried out for multiple different soccer teams, and you gotta show up at a training. You got to be able to work with the people instantly. You got to put all your grievances aside or anything that happened off the field, and you got to work together to win or to achieve a common goal there. And so to be able to do that quickly, and have everyone kind of respect you and your opinions and your voice, I learned that playing soccer. I really did.
There's a lot of skills learned through sport and soccer for sure.
Any team. I mean, that gets back to like why we started grassroots soccer. I mean, you can put a soccer ball down any street corner anywhere in the world, and you instantly have 25 friends. That's why I said earlier, it grants you instant access into community. It brings people together. That's what soccer does.
Yeah, very true. Agreed. Um, I wanted to ask you one last question,
Sure.
or some fun questions if it's cool with you. Um, I wanted to ask, like, you look super healthy. So I wanted to ask, like, what you're doing now to stay super healthy and look so great like you.
Well, I've always been a fitness freak.
Yeah.
I I grew up eating well, exercising, playing sports, being maybe hyper focused on my health and wellness, and I got cancer. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do all those things, but what I'm saying is I think balance in life is key. Like I was doing everything in my power possible to not get sick, and I still did. So, um, my advice to those folks looking to maintain some sort of wellness routine is just take a holistic approach to your health, body, mind, and spirit. So that's kind of the way, I do it. Like there was times where I was just, I was working out twice a day, every day, all day, right? Just because I wanted to play soccer, play sports, and I forgot the rest of my life. Mentally I wasn't well. Maybe I wasn't eating as good as or sleeping as well as I should. My relationships were suffering. So I'm a big proponent of like the work-life balance, and you need to just kind of have a well-balanced routine. But in just general, like now I've actually changed my workout plan as I age. Working out in your 40s, 50s, and 60s is a lot different than working out in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. And so I've kind of changed my workout plan. I'm doing a lot lower reps, higher weight. I changed my diet. I'm doing really high protein, low carbs, low sugar, high veg, and multiple meals a day versus before I was just doing 3 big meals a day and kind of starving myself in between. And I've really seen some gains over these past 4 months. Like, my body fat has decreased, my muscle mass has increased. Like I've done zero cardio in 4 months, and I've just been doing these kind of like I would say like high intensity CrossFit style workouts. And I went for my first run, and my mile time, I took off 2 minutes. And I had done zero cardio, zero running. Sorry, not zero cardio. I've done zero sprints, zero endurance, zero running, any of that stuff. I've just been doing this other type of workout plan. So when I went out and did my mile trial after about 4 months, I took off 2 minutes. So I was pretty happy about that.
Good. So the last question I want to ask actually, Ethan, is what advice would you give to the youth growing up now and the young graduates graduating high school, college, university? What would you
Yeah.
what advice?
Uh, I guess I live by the saying, never let a crisis go to waste, because it's an opportunity to do some really important things. And young kids today, you're going to have a lot of success in life, but you're also going to have a lot of failures. And yeah, you may not be able to prepare for these failures, but you can always prepare on how you're going to react to some of these um, situations where you fail. I think there's a lot of beauty in the concept of failure, and people talk about it all the time. And like there's a time in my life where I spent so much time obsessing on what may or may not happen if I tried something new. Like I'd be so nervous to try something new because I might fail. But my advice to everyone is like, don't worry about failing. Just worry about all the things you'll miss if you don't even try, right? And you can learn from your failures, and you can learn from these experiences. So whether you're a youth playing soccer, or you're in high school, or you're graduating college, never let a crisis go to waste.
All right, that was good. I'd love to ask you some fun, rapid questions and just end off
Sure.
there.
All
Okay,
right, go for it.
what's your favorite food all time?
Pickles.
What about favorite meal or dish?
A favorite meal? I mean, I would definitely have to go with pizza, or I'm like, bagel and lox with cream cheese, tomato, you know.
Yeah. What about all-time favorite movie?
All-time favorite movie is probably Rudy, or Field of Dreams. I'm aging myself a little bit, but any come from behind sports movie I like.
Favorite artist? Music.
Oh, favorite Bob Marley is my favorite music artist for sure. Yeah.
What's your favorite song by Bob Marley?
The Three Little Birds or Zimbabwe, those two songs. Three Little Birds.
Um,
Sun is Shining is another good one.
that's a good one too. Um, favorite soccer team, football team that you watch?
Well, I'm a huge Tottenham Hotspurs fan. Recently, AC Milan because of Christian Pulisic. I'm excited about San Diego FC, newest MLS team. Big fan of Angel City FC, Gotham FC, and the NWSL. Orlando Pride, because they have 3 Zambian soccer players on Orlando Pride, one of which, Barbara Banda, is a former grassroots soccer student. So in Zambia. So I'm excited to follow her career. She's crushing it right now.
What about favorite goalkeeper all time?
My favorite, probably Walter Zenga was one of my favorite goalkeepers of all time. I'm stuck in like, the 90s. So of course I was a huge Tony Meola fan, Brad Friedel, when those guys were playing, and they came on the scene. But I think the US is struggling a little bit in the goalkeeper position right now. That used to be our strongest spot. We were sending our goalkeepers around the world to play internationally. I think we're struggling a little bit with what we got in between the pipes these days, leading up to the World Cup. I'm a little bit nervous.
Let's see. And I have two more. What about favorite player on the pitch?
Favorite player on the pitch these days? Who would I like the way they play? I mean, obviously, I'm going to go with Salah and Holland just because I just think they're really fun to watch, and there's always something exciting to happening. I mean, I love following the U.S. players. I mean, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams. Who's the other back? They're all just crushing it over there in whatever team they're playing on it. So I like following the US players.
The last one I'll ask you, Messi or Ronaldo?
I'm gonna have to go with Messi on that one. I mean, mostly, to be honest, I just think Ronaldo's decision to go play um, over in Saudi Arabia versus Messi's decision to take over America was the smartest thing. I mean, Ronaldo should have seen that coming. He would have crushed it here, just like Messi. But Messi was first to market, and I mean, just getting tied into the Apple deal, and I think he just made smart business moves. Or whoever's advising him is doing a really good job.
Well, this is awesome, Ethan, to spend some time with you and to ask you questions. The beautiful game. It was a good time. It was fun. And I really appreciate you taking the time on being being on the One Soccer Nation podcast.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks for having me, and yeah, have me back anytime.